What Steve has said, that when the whistleblower came out, then she was attacked, even attacked by Neil Kinnock, who was one of the commissioners at that time. I'm not in favour of the euro, and if ever we had a referendum on that, I would campaign very strongly against that. Paul spoke about the fact that we've got too many elected bureaucrats, and he's absolutely right, and the Lisbon Treaty created two of the biggest ones we've ever seen. And that was the President of the European Council, Van Rompuy, and our new Foreign Secretary of Europe, Cathy Ashton, who's never been elected to anything. I thought it was a disgrace when Tony Blair decided not to give us the referendum on the Lisbon Treaty that created both those posts, and even worse, he then went to run for one of the posts himself. I mean, the only good thing about Van Rompuy getting it was that Tony Blair didn't get it. But that's hardly a justification for it. Also in our name, there's a new foreign service being set up, so you will see an embassy with a blue flag and yellow stars in every country throughout the world, and it's costing us hundreds of millions of pounds, and for what? So I believe that we need to have far more common sense about our approach to the European Union. I believe that David Cameron's proposals for a sovereignty bill to show that the British Parliament will be sovereign, that there will be no further treaties without any recourse to a referendum, and that referendum will happen, and also that we need to start to look at the repatriation of some of the powers that have been either taken or drifted away to Brussels, in order that they come back to Westminster, and those decisions are then made by the politicians that you elect. I agree with Paul about one thing about the MEPs, that I believe some of them are getting away with absolute murder, and the same sort of strictures that have now come down on Westminster through the Freedom of Information Act could be something, I believe, that would really benefit the European Union. If they had a Freedom of Information Act as well, I think that you would see a very large sum of money that is being currently spent and wasted within the European Union being saved. And the one thing I'll agree with Alan on, which is the Strasbourg-Brussels circuit, which actually costs you and I over £100 million every year for them to go to Strasbourg once a month for a week. You know, that is clearly absurd. That circus has to stop. And when it came before the members of the European Parliament whether they should stop going to Strasbourg once a month, the Parliament voted to carry on. I mean, that's absolutely absurd. It's one of the worst carry-ons without much humour in that I've ever seen.